After a set period of time, the torpedo releases a beacon, often in the form of a wooden log with a built-in camouflaged antenna, so it can later be found and retrieved.
All right, y'all, welcome back to Combat Arms channel. Okay, so today we're checking out a YouTube channel that we haven't seen previously. So this YouTube channel is called Not What You Think. Now, it seems like they have a lot of really cool military-focused content, and I'm really excited to get into this channel a little bit more. So, I mean, there's a lot of crazy content on YouTube, and sometimes you'll pick up on these awesome channels a little bit later on, but it's super satisfying to do so. Now, this channel, again, they're a pretty big channel, and they have a lot of cool military-focused stuff, but the one we're checking out today is called 4 Ways Smugglers Operate. Now, I find it super fascinating whenever you start talking about, like, pirates and smugglers, and, you know, they're not necessarily the same thing just because, you know, smugglers probably try and avoid detection, but it's really fascinating to hear about these sort of stories and see how people would take them down. Because we've seen like the stories where the SBS and the SAS are going and taking down these pirates. You hear stories all the time about the U.S. Coast Guard intercepting like smugglers and whatnots, or the U.S. Navy intercepting smugglers. So it's really cool to sort of see the tactics, techniques, and procedures that these guys use, and also see how like other forces like the U.S. Coast Guard would counter this stuff. So I'm really excited to get into this video. It looks really, really solid. And again, this channel looks really cool. So let's get into it.
It is estimated that less than 10% of the smuggled goods, like drugs and weapons, are prevented by the Border Patrol from entering the United States.
Okay.
While
Okay, so this is really, really cool. I don't know if you guys saw this in the news recently. I posted this in the Discord along with a few other people, but this was really dope. So the U.S. Navy stopped, I think it was a vessel coming from Iran going to Yemen, and they had all of these insane weapons on them. You can see there's just loads and loads of weapons. We got the freaking SVDs here. We got PKMs. We got AK variants. So really fascinating stuff.
While there are many different ways to sneak this kind of cargo into the country, we're going to focus on 4 main ways that smuggling operations.
This video is going to be so cool. I already know it.
The last one is the most creative and technologically
iconic
advanced method. And as you may have already guessed my next words, it's not what you think.
All right,
Go-fast boats
check
can
it out.
travel at over 80 knots in calm waters and are extremely difficult to detect by radar due to their low profile. The primary way of
So I think 1 knot is like 1.1 mile per hour. So 80 knots, probably like what, 80, 85, 90 mile per hour. That's pretty fast for a boat, especially when you got a bunch of like sketchy cargo on it like this. But I'm sure these guys aren't too concerned about their safety. They're trying to just, you know, make it nice and quick and avoid detection.
detecting such vessels is visual detection from a helicopter or patrolling aircraft. Since most go-fast boats travel at night, you have to be at very close range to detect them. During the day, go-fast boats try to camouflage themselves as much as possible, whether it's a blue sheet covering the boat or a painted fiberglass.
Oh, nice. The Coast Guard was after them.
The boats themselves are pretty basic, crammed with fuel, supplies, and of course, illicit cargo.
Damn.
In the 80s and 90s, go-fast boats were the weapons of choice because even if they were detected by law enforcement, they would just zip by them as they traveled at double the speed of Coast Guard cutters. Smugglers were so confident.
Yeah, so I guess that does make sense, especially if the smugglers are a little bit more offshore. You probably need some of those bigger vessels out there to, I mean, not really intercept them because they're not going to be able to go as fast, but to at least detect them. But it must be pretty frustrating for the Coast Guard guys to not be able to actually intercept them.
In their craft that they would often mock Border Patrol by passing close by. As a result, the Coast Guard was forced to use its own go-fast boats.
Hell yeah,
a
here we go.
rigid-hulled inflatable boat deployed from a cutter that was fast enough to catch up with the smugglers.
Those ribs
you
are
would think
freaking
that
insane,
having their own
dude.
chase boats, the Coast Guard leveled the playing field. But this was not the case, as it was very dangerous to chase smugglers who would always try to outmaneuver the law enforcement. It literally became a game of cat and mouse.
Yeah, I mean, those guys have a lot less.
The gain was also not always worth.
They don't really care so much about. Again, they're just trying to get the goods over there. They're not really so concerned about like their safety and whatnot. So they're going to be able to risk a little bit more than the Coast Guard guys are going to want to.
The pain. Sometimes collisions would occur between smugglers and the Coast Guard, which put the staff in extreme risk. So a better solution was needed.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with those Coast Guard guys.
A proposal was put forward for the Coast Guard to start using aerial enforcement.
Oh yeah, like the snipers. Yeah, here we go.
Aerial snipers from embarked helicopters. Originally, the Coast Guard rejected such an idea as it was viewed as a betrayal of core values of focusing on humanitarian missions such as search and rescue. But a classified trial was approved, during which armed helicopters intercepted and stopped all 5 go-fast boats that they had encountered, resulting in seizure of over $100 million worth of illegal goods. These trials were deemed...
Yeah, I mean, $100 million sounds like a lot, but you have to think, like, some of this stuff, like the street value, can go for a lot of money. So I'm sure there's a lot of smugglers that they're not actually picking up on. And it's just insane to think that there's that much money moving back and forth. So I'm sure the Coast Guard's going to want to invest a little bit more into these, you know, these sniper platforms, just because, I mean, again, 5 vessels and they got $100 million worth.
Successful, and eventually a unit was officially commissioned in 1998 as Helicopter Interdiction Tactical Squadron, or HITRON.
1998, that's
HITRON
a long time ago.
Will be deployed from Coast Guard cutters whenever a go-fast smuggling boat was detected. The Coast Guard would first force the boats to stop through the use of sirens and loudspeakers, but according to the servicemen, smugglers almost never complied. Not surprising.
Yeah, of course.
Consequently, an aerial gunner would fire warning shots in front of the bow with a machine gun.
That's so
if the
badass,
boat still didn't stop, an aerial sniper would start disabling the engines of the boat one by one. Once the smugglers stopped, they would be boarded by the over-the-horizon boat's boarding team, which would detain the crew, search for, and confiscate any smuggled goods.
Dude, that's so freaking legit. The Coast Guard gets a lot of smack for, you know, what they are, but you have a lot of freaking heavy hitters doing stuff like this. It's just awesome. Like, you have the MSRT that go and do a lot of this stuff, but then you have these guys. I guess it's like their own specific unit. The HITRON is what they're calling them. Yeah, it's just, it's awesome. The Coast Guard should get a lot more respect for what they do, not only because of the humanitarian stuff, but also this pretty dangerous stuff here.
Interdicted over 500 vessels and seized $17.7 billion worth of contraband.
Holy cow, dude. Oh, here we go, the submarines.
Are the new smuggling vessels of choice as they trade speed for increased stealth. Most of them are semi-submersible, which is enough to avoid radar detection or even visual detection.
That's pretty fancy stuff there.
Narco submarines can cost up to $2 million to build, and interestingly, they're considered expendable vessels, since after their successful operation, they're usually abandoned. They can carry up to 10 tons of smuggled cargo, meaning that each trip can generate anywhere from $100 to $400 million based on the street value of the goods. So given the
so kind of dang, it's so crazy. They get a $2 million vessel that's completely expendable because, again, that vessel can move, what, $100 million to $400 million worth of stuff. It's just crazy to think about that this world exists. And a lot of people don't really think about it. But, yeah, you literally have these $2 million vessels that are just being left offshore because they don't need them anymore. So weird.
Return on investment, it is probably cheaper to build new narco submarines rather than risk.
I love that clip.
Narco subs are usually built from fiberglass and are powered by diesel engines. Once caught, you would assume that the crew would immediately surrender, but as you can see, smugglers persist until the very end. Some cartels operate full-size submarines which can go as deep as 328 feet and across the Atlantic. One of these submarines was seized in Ecuador in 2010. As of 2020, it's estimated that there are at least 1,000 operational narco submarines that can carry about 1/3 of the smuggled goods in the United States.
Dude.
The chances of a narco submarine making a successful trip is about 90%.
What? 90? Okay, so that's just so weird to think about. It's like an entire navy right there. They have 1,000 submarines. I doubt it's all coming from like the same country or whatnot, but holy cow. 1,000 submarines were 90% success rate. So you just have these submarines moving back and forth all the time. Well, maybe not back and forth, but just making these one-way trips all the time, and people have no idea. It's just crazy to think about.
If you think the wall between the US and Mexico border can stop smuggling operations, you'd be wrong. Even if climbing over the wall was difficult, welcome to the tunnel. You can just go under it. Since 2001, over 60 tunnels between the US and Mexico have been discovered in the San Diego area alone.
Damn,
Some tunnels are as much as 100 feet underground and as long as 8 football fields. Most tunnels are in the Otay Mesa warehouse district, as warehouses are a perfect spot to dig tunnel exits. Law enforcement would frequently visit warehouses and look for signs of tunnels like newly installed concrete floors. special equipment would be used to see what's below the floor, and oftentimes, bingo, there is a tunnel.
Wow, that's actually
Tunnels
really
range
smart
from
stuff.
3 to 6 feet in diameter, and
Look at
some
that.
even have railway tracks installed to help facilitate movement of the cargo.
Freaking railway and
Super
lights.
tunnels that span over 1,000 feet can be even equipped with elevators and electric rail cars. But most
This reminds me, so if you guys have ever seen the Hamas terror tunnels, this reminds me a lot of that. And it's basically these tunnels that they would like build from, I guess, like the Gaza Strip into Israel. And it looked a lot like this, like very built up, and kind of surprising when you actually find it later on, how much infrastructure is built just into these small tunnels to do these small operations. And I mean, it sounds bad to say, but it's kind of crazy to see the amount of work that people will put in just to, you know, move some drugs around. Again, there's a lot of money to be made, but this is a lot of work here.
Most of these tunnels are not equipped with ventilation equipment, and what you're hearing right now is a low oxygen alert.
Yep.
San Diego's soil is perfect for tunneling, as it is both easy to dig through and strong enough to hold up the tunnel. The cost of digging most tunnels is estimated at about $1 million, but even after a single trip, that money can be made back and then
Yeah,
some.
exactly.
Oh, we should also
Holy
make
cow.
this very clear. We do not endorse or recommend this line of work. It's really not what you think.
Okay. I mean, I like how he threw in that caveat just for the YouTube video, but if there are people who are willing to spend $1,000 on a tunnel, they're probably not going to stop just because the YouTube video told them to.
Finally, narco torpedoes are probably one of the most creative ways to smuggle cargo. These are relatively low cost and highly effective, as they're usually towed behind a fishing boat at a depth of about 100 feet. If the law enforcement approaches the boat, the torpedo is released, so there is very little risk of getting caught. But smugglers don't give up on their goods that easily. After a set period of time, the torpedo releases a beacon, often in the form of a wooden log with a built-in camouflaged antenna, so it can later be found and retrieved.
Dude.
The newest versions of these narco torpedoes are autonomous underwater vehicles, also known as AUVs, that can magnetically attach themselves to the bottom of cargo or cruise ships and travel with them to extremely far destinations.
It's kind of funny to think about how you have like technology being made out of necessity for like bigger things. So like, for example, space travel. Like NASA led to the invention of a bunch of technology. I think like the microwave was one of them, just when they were trying to do all the space travel and go to the moon and whatnot. But then you have these you have narcos that are making these crazy torpedoes that get like their own acronyms and whatnot, just so they can push around their products. And it's pretty sophisticated stuff. You have like the beacon, it's already camouflaged and whatnot. You know, they try and act innocent, so they launch a torpedo and act like they weren't smuggling anything, and then just go and collect it later. That's some pretty sophisticated stuff. So again, it's kind of bad to say, but it's kind of impressive to see all the work and ingenuity being put into, you know, moving these drugs around.
Since the travel itinerary of commercial ships is fairly well known, it's just a matter of timing it. Once the ship reaches its port, the UAV would detach itself and travel some more distance independently to be picked up by its rightful owners, I guess. Creative, right?
The customers.
By the way, if you enjoy our videos and would like to support us, we just set up our Patreon page. It would be really cool if you were our first Patreon.
Dude, yes, that is a freaking awesome video. Okay, well, I will at least subscribe to this channel for sure. So it looks like they're almost at 500,000 subscribers, and I think that is very well deserved. Some really incredible stuff there. Again, it's really nice having these YouTube channels and these videos that shed light on all this stuff that you, one, wouldn't think about, and then two, you would have no idea it would be this complex. Like, you think about drug smuggling, you know, it's pretty complicated. The tunnel thing sounds pretty believable, but then when you have like these torpedoes that launch themselves and send up beacons so they can be picked up later on, that's stuff that you would never think about. And it's just awesome when you have these videos to shed light on it. So very, very cool channel. I will put the original video in the description for you guys to check out, so you can go over and check out the channel. There's a lot of other videos that I would like to check out from this channel, so you guys might see that in the near future, so stand by for that. But let me know what you think about this video. Let me know what surprised you the most. I gotta say, that torpedo one was probably the most surprising thing to me. But it's also really cool just to see the ins and outs of like the submarines, how much they cost and whatnot. It's just, and especially how much of the drugs that they're moving around and how much that's actually worth. Really, really fascinating stuff. But again, let me know what you guys think in the comments section. If you guys like the video, hit the thumbs up, all that good stuff. Definitely consider subscribing so I can share more of this awesome content with you guys. If you have any other recommendations or any cool videos from this channel that you'd like me to check out, feel free to throw it down below because, again, this stuff is kind of mind-blowing. But thank you guys for watching. That's it for this video. I will see you on the next one.